be me, 34-year-old woman. Have 3 degrees, including my gender studies PhD, that cost me $200,000, but whatever education is priceless. Work at a progressive tech company in their diversity and inclusion department. My job is basically to make sure men know their place and women get the recognition they deserve. Spend most of my days writing emails about microaggressions and holding seminars about toxic masculinity. Today feels like it's going to be a good day to educate some people. Walk into the office with my short asymmetrical haircut that I just got touched up, purple highlights looking fresh. Wearing my "The Future is Female" t-shirt under my blazer because I'm professional but also making a statement. My pronouns are she, her, but I make sure everyone knows I'm an ally to all gender identities. Grab my oat milk latte from the break room. Regular milk is for people who hate the environment. See Chad from accounting. This guy. His name isn't actually Chad, but he might as well be. He's one of those insufferable guys who keeps to himself, never comes to the diversity seminars, always polite but distant. The worst kind, because you can't even report him for anything specific. He just exists in this bubble of male privilege and doesn't even acknowledge it. I've tried to educate him so many times, but he just nods and goes back to his work. Today, he's wearing a plain button-up shirt and khakis. So boring, so conventional, so patriarchal. I decide I'm going to try again to reach him because that's what we do, we persist. Walk over to his desk with my latte in hand. He's focused on his computer, probably looking at sports or something equally mindless. Clear my throat to get his attention. He looks up with this neutral expression, not even a real smile, just professional courtesy. I launch into my prepared speech about how the company is implementing new gender-neutral bathroom policies. He nods along, says, "Okay, sounds good," and starts to turn back to his work. The dismissiveness, I literally cannot. Ask him if he understands why this is so important for marginalized communities. He says yes, and that he supports people using whatever bathroom they're comfortable with. But there's something about the way he says it, so flat, so uncommitted. I can tell he hasn't actually done the internal work to understand his privilege. Press him further, ask if he's planning to attend the next allyship seminar. He says he's pretty busy with his actual work, but he'll see. His actual work, as if diversity and inclusion isn't actual work. This is exactly what's wrong with men like him. They think their technical skills matter more than emotional labor and social justice. I decide to let it go for now, but I'm watching him. Go back to my desk and spend the next hour crafting an email about inclusive language in the workplace. Specifically calling out terms like guys when addressing mixed groups. CC the entire department because everyone needs to learn. Get a few thumbs up reactions on the email, mostly from other women and my allies. Notice Chad doesn't react at all. Typical. Spend my lunch break scrolling through Feminist Twitter and getting appropriately outraged about various injustices. Some man has an opinion about something. I quote tweet with a thread about why his opinion is invalid. Feel energized by my online activism. Afternoon rolls around and there's a department meeting. Our manager wants to discuss Q3 goals and performance metrics. I make sure to bring up that performance metrics can be biased against women and non-binary folks. Our manager, who is also a woman but unfortunately not very feminist, says we can discuss that later. Feel silenced, but I make a note to send an email about it. Meeting continues, and Chad presents some project he's been working on. It's actually pretty impressive, some kind of automation tool that will save the company money. But I can't help but notice he takes all the credit. Didn't even acknowledge the team, didn't mention collaboration, just, "I developed this." Classic male behavior, probably stole ideas from women and claimed them as his own. Make a mental note to investigate this later. After the meeting, I'm walking back to my desk when Chad catches up to me. This is unusual because he literally never initiates conversation with me. Maybe my persistence is finally paying off and he wants to learn. He has this calm expression on his face, almost too calm. Asks me if he can ask me a question about something I said in the meeting. I said a lot of important things in the meeting, so I'm curious which one resonated. Tell him sure, always happy to educate. He says he's been thinking a lot about gender issues lately because of all the company seminars and emails. Finally, a breakthrough. I literally live for these moments. He says he wants to make sure he understands the terminology correctly. Yes, terminology is so important. I'm glad he's taking this seriously. He asks me, completely straight-faced, what is a woman? Such a simple question, surely he knows this. But then I realize this is probably his way of trying to understand the nuances. He probably wants to know how we define womanhood in an inclusive way. Start to explain that a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman. He nods and says, "Okay, but what are they identifying as?" The question stops me for a second. They're identifying as a woman. I just said that. He says, right, but what does that mean? What is the thing they're identifying as? This feels like a trick, but I'm not sure how yet. Explain that gender is a social construct and womanhood means different things to different people. He nods again, still with that calm expression. Says so there's no actual definition then. Of course there's a definition. I'm literally giving it to him. Tell him that a woman is someone who experiences themselves as a woman. He asks what it means to experience yourself as a woman. I'm starting to feel a bit frustrated now. Explain that it's an internal sense of gender identity. He says, okay, so what makes that internal sense, specifically female or woman identify? This is clearly bad faith questioning, but there are other people around, so I have to stay professional. Tell him that this is a complex topic that can't be reduced to a simple soundbite. He says he's not trying to reduce it, he genuinely wants to know what the word woman means. Suggest that he attend one of the gender theory seminars where this is explained in detail. He says he's asking me right now because I'm the expert and I bring this up constantly. The audacity of this man. Tell him that if he can't understand that a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman, then he needs to do some reading. He asks what they're identifying as again. We're going in circles and I realize this is intentional. He's trying to make me look foolish in front of our coworkers. Tell him that I don't have time to explain basic concepts to someone who isn't asking in good faith. He says he's asking in completely good faith and just wants a clear definition. Notice a few other coworkers have stopped to listen. This is so typical. Men love to put women on the spot like this. Try a different approach and say that womanhood is characterized by the lived experience of being treated as a woman by society. He asks if that means someone isn't a woman if society doesn't treat them as one. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. He's twisting my words. Tell him he's twisting my words. He says he's just trying to understand the logical framework. There's nothing illogical about my framework. It's peer-reviewed academic theory. Tell him that maybe if he read some Judith Butler, he would understand. He says he has actually read Gender Trouble and found it interesting, but also found the definitions circular. He read Judith Butler. I don't believe it for a second. Probably just skimmed the Wikipedia page. Tell him that if he read it and still doesn't understand, then that's a him problem. He shrugs and says fair enough. Asks me one more time for a simple definition of the word woman. I'm so done with this conversation. Tell him that I've already answered his question multiple times, and if he can't comprehend it, that reflects his own limitations. He says okay, and thanks me for my time. Walks away looking completely unbothered. I'm fuming. The other coworkers who are watching disperse quickly. Can't tell if they're on my side or his. Go back to my desk and immediately start drafting an email to HR. This was clearly a targeted harassment campaign. He singled me out to ask bad faith questions, designed to undermine my expertise. Spend 2 hours crafting the perfect email with citations and examples. Use terms like hostile work environment and intellectual harassment. Send it off to HR and CC my manager. Feel vindicated. Surely they'll see this for what it is. Spend the rest of the day refreshing my email, waiting for a response. Finally get a reply from HR saying they'll look into it. Good, they better. Go home and vent to my roommate about what happened. She's kind of normie and not really into feminism, but she listens. Tell her about how this man tried to humiliate me by asking impossible questions. She asks what the questions were. Tell her he kept asking me to define what a woman is. She says, okay, so what did you say? Not her too. Explain the whole thing about gender identity and social constructs. She's kind of nodding, but I can tell she doesn't get it. Whatever, I don't need her validation. Spend the evening on Reddit posting about my experience in various feminist subreddits. Get a lot of support from other feminists who understand. They tell me he was clearly Celianing and trying to play devil's advocate. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what he was doing. Some comments suggest I should report him for creating a hostile environment. Already did. I'm 3 steps ahead. Feel better knowing my online community has my back. Go to bed feeling righteous. Next morning, get into work early. There's an email from HR asking me to come in for a meeting at 10. Perfect. They probably want to discuss how to handle Chad. Prepare a list of all his microaggressions over the past year. From the time he didn't laugh at my joke about men being trash. The time he brought in donuts without asking if anyone had dietary restrictions. The time he said, hey guys, to a group that included women. I've been documenting everything. 10 o'clock rolls around and I head to the HR office. It's not just HR though, my manager is there too. They both have serious expressions. Ask me to sit down. They say they've reviewed my complaint about Chad. Good, what are they going to do about him? HR lady says they spoke to Chad and he explained that he was asking about gender terminology to better understand company policies. That's what he says, but I know his real intentions. Tell them that it was clearly bad faith and designed to humiliate me. My manager asks if he said anything inappropriate or insulting. Well, no, not in those words, but the implication. They exchange a glance. HR lady says that asking questions, even challenging ones, doesn't constitute harassment. Are they serious right now? Tell them that as the diversity and inclusion specialist, undermining my expertise is a form of harassment. My manager says that part of my role is to be able to answer questions about diversity topics. I did answer his questions, he just didn't like the answers. HR lady says that several coworkers mentioned that I became visibly frustrated and called him limited. Because he is limited, he couldn't understand basic gender theory. They're making this about me when he's the problem. Manager says that going forward, I need to remain professional even when dealing with difficult questions. I'm literally always professional. This is insane. They're protecting him because he's a man. Tell them this is exactly what institutional sexism looks like. HR lady sighs and says, this isn't about gender, it's about workplace communication. Everything is about gender. That's literally my job to point this out. Meeting ends with them basically telling me to drop it. Can't believe this. Go back to my desk in shock. The patriarchy protects its own, even in a progressive company. See Chad at his desk, working away like nothing happened, probably feeling so smug right now. Spend the day barely able to focus on work. Keep replaying the conversation in my head. What I should have said was that womanhood is defined by XX chromosomes. Wait, no, that's TERF rhetoric. Can't say that. What I should have said was that it's a spectrum. But then he would have asked what the spectrum is between. He backed me into a corner with his male logic. Male logic is so reductive, it can't comprehend the nuance of gender. That's what I should have told him. Gender is beyond logic. It's felt. It's experienced. You can't define it in rigid terms because that's the whole point. It's fluid and personal and valid. Yeah, that's good. If he ever asks me again, that's what I'll say. But probably he won't, because he got what he wanted. He made me look bad in front of everyone. Over the next few days, I notice people treating me differently. Or maybe I'm just hyper-aware. Someone says, hey guys, in a meeting, and quickly corrects to, hey everyone, while glancing at me. Are they mocking me? Another coworker asks me a question about gender-neutral pronouns but seems nervous. Like they're afraid I'll bite their head off. This is what Chad did. He made people afraid to engage with diversity topics. He set back our progress by months. I don't give up, though. Send out my regular emails about inclusive language and unconscious bias. Notice the response rate is lower than usual. Whatever, this is important work, even if people don't appreciate it. A few weeks go by, and there's a company-wide town hall. CEO is talking about company values and culture. Mentions that we value open dialogue and different perspectives. Wonder if this is shade directed at me. No, I'm being paranoid. During Q&A, someone asks about the company's stance on free speech versus inclusive speech. CEO gives some diplomatic answer about balancing both. Need to send an email about how free speech is often used to protect hate speech. After the town hall, I'm getting coffee in the break room. Chad walks in. It's just the two of us. He nods at me politely. I ignore him. He pours his coffee and is about to leave. My mouth moves before my brain catches up. Ask him if he's happy with himself. He turns around looking genuinely confused. Ask if he enjoyed humiliating me in front of everyone. He says he wasn't trying to humiliate me. He was asking a genuine question. The gaslighting. Tell him I know exactly what he was doing. He says okay. And what was he doing? He was trying to make me look stupid because he hates feminists. He takes a sip of his coffee and says he doesn't hate feminists. Then why did he do that? He says he asked a question that he thought I would be able to answer given my expertise. It's not an answerable question in the way he wanted. He says why not? Because gender is complex and nuanced. He nods and says many things are complex and nuanced, but we can still define them. We're going in circles again. Tell him I'm not doing this again. He says that's fine and starts to leave. But then he stops and turns back. Says something that I'm still thinking about weeks later. Says that maybe the problem is that I've built my entire identity and career on concepts I can't actually explain. Says that's not an attack, just an observation. Says that if the foundation of my worldview can't withstand basic questions, maybe it's worth examining why. Says he's not trying to be cruel. He actually thinks I'm smart, but I'm invested in an ideology that doesn't hold up to scrutiny. I'm speechless. He says, have a good day, and leaves. Stand there in the break room alone. Feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Doubt. No, I push it away. He's just a misogynist, trying to shake my confidence. This is what they do. They plant seeds of doubt. I know what I believe. I know I'm right. Go back to my desk. Try to work but can't focus. His words keep echoing. Concepts I can't actually explain. I can explain them. I have a PhD. I've written papers. I've given presentations. But, and I hate that there's a but when he asked me that simple question, I couldn't give a simple answer. And not because there isn't one. It's because the answer is beyond his comprehension. Right? Spend the afternoon spiraling. Look up what is a woman definition on Google. Get a bunch of different answers. Some say adult human female. Some say anyone who identifies as a woman. Some say it's a social role. Some say it's a biological category. There's no consensus. But that's because it's complicated. Or is it because we've made it complicated? No, stop it. This is internalized misogyny. Chad has gotten into my head. This is what manipulative men do. But was he really manipulative? He was calm. He was polite. He didn't raise his voice. He just asked questions. Questions I couldn't answer. No, questions I chose not to answer because they were in bad faith. But what if they weren't? What if he genuinely wanted to understand and I couldn't explain it? Close my laptop. Need to go home. Tell my manager I'm not feeling well. She looks concerned and tells me to rest. Get home and just lie on my bed. Stare at the ceiling. Think about my degree. Think about all the classes where we discussed the social construction of gender. It all made sense in that context. Everyone nodded along. Everyone agreed. But outside that bubble, outside that echo chamber, maybe. No. I get up and pull out my old textbooks. Start reading through the gender theory sections. Looking for a clear, simple definition of woman. Judith Butler says, gender is performative. Okay, so a woman is someone who performs femininity. But what about masculine women? Are they not women? Of course they are, so it's not about performance. Keep reading. Another theorist says it's about identity. Woman is an identity category. But what makes it specifically woman and not something else? The book doesn't really say. It just asserts that people have gender identities and we should respect them, which I agree with. But that's not a definition. That's a moral stance. Spend hours going through my books, getting more confused and frustrated. All of this theory, all of these words, and I can't find a simple answer. Start to feel angry. Angry at Chad for doing this to me. Angry at my professors for not preparing me for these questions. Angry at myself for doubting. But am I doubting the theory, or am I doubting my understanding of it? Or am I doubting whether understanding it even matters? That night, barely sleep. Keep thinking about the look on Chad's face. He wasn't smug. He wasn't mocking. He just looked curious, and then later, almost sympathetic. Like he felt sorry for me. That's worse than if he'd been cruel. Pity is worse than hatred. Next morning, drag myself to work. Decide I'm just going to avoid Chad completely. Focus on my actual job duties. Review some hiring practices for bias. Write an email about using more inclusive stock photos. Normal stuff, but my heart's not in it. Everything feels hollow now. Like I'm going through the motions. Lunchtime, I sit in my car instead of the break room. Scroll through my Twitter feed. See all the feminist accounts I follow posting about various issues. Usually I'm right there with them, retweeting and adding my own commentary. Today, it all seems exhausting. All the outrage, all the call-outs, all the discourse. When did this become my whole life? When did I become this person who can't have a normal conversation without seeing oppression everywhere? Sit with that thought. Remember when I first got into feminism in college. It felt empowering, like I was learning to see the world clearly for the first time, understanding systems of power and privilege. It gave me a framework to understand my experiences, but somewhere along the way, it became my whole personality. Every conversation, every interaction filtered through this lens. And anyone who didn't see things exactly the way I did was the enemy. Is Chad really the enemy, though? He comes to work, does his job well, minds his own business. Doesn't bother anyone. The worst thing he did was ask me a question I couldn't answer, and for that I tried to get him fired. Sit with that realization. I tried to get a man fired for asking me a question. What does that say about me? What does that say about my ideology if it can't withstand questions? If it requires HR complaints and silencing tactics to protect it? Feel sick. Not physically sick, but soul sick. Like something fundamental has shifted. Go back inside for the afternoon. See Chad at his desk. He's training a new employee, a young woman. Explaining something on the computer. She's asking questions. He's answering patiently. She asks something else. He answers again. No frustration, just helpful. Watch this interaction. Realize I've never seen him be anything but professional and kind. I invented a villain because I needed there to be one. I needed there to be a misogynist to fight against. Because without that, what's my purpose? What's my identity if I'm not fighting the patriarchy? Weeks go by. I keep doing my job, but something has changed. I'm less aggressive in my emails. I listen more in meetings. I don't immediately assume bad intent. Some of my feminist coworkers notice. One asks if I'm okay. Say, I'm just tired. She says the fight is exhausting, but we can't give up. Nod along, but inside, I'm thinking about what fight she means. What are we actually fighting? Are we fighting for equality, or are we fighting to maintain our victim status? Because if we achieve equality, what happens to our identities as oppressed? Do we have anything else? Do I have anything else? Scary questions. One day I see a job posting for a data analyst position at another company. It's not in diversity and inclusion. It's just regular analytical work. I majored in statistics before I got my gender studies degree. I was actually pretty good at it, but it felt meaningless compared to social justice work. Now I wonder if maybe doing good work and being kind to people matters more than performing activism. Wonder if I've wasted years of my life and thousands of dollars on a degree that taught me how to be angry. Don't apply to the job yet, but I saved the posting. Another town hall comes up. Different topic this time. But during Q&A, someone asks about diversity initiatives. My manager looks at me to answer. Stand up with the mic. Give a measured response about inclusive hiring practices and equal opportunity. Don't use terms like toxic masculinity or white privilege. Just talk about practical steps to reduce bias. People are nodding. It feels different than before. It feels like communication instead of lecturing. After the meeting, Chad approaches me. My first instinct is defensiveness, but I breathe through it. He says that was a good answer. Say thanks. He says he thinks the new approach will be more effective. Can't help myself, ask what new approach. He says I seem less adversarial and more collaborative. Says people respond better to that. He's right and I hate it, but also I don't hate it. Ask him if he has a minute. He says sure. We go to an empty conference room. Tell him I've been thinking about what he said in the break room. He waits for me to continue. And I say that I'm starting to realize I might have built my identity on shaky ground. He doesn't gloat, just nods. Tell him I still believe in equality and fairness. He says he does too. Say, I'm just not sure anymore that the way I've been going about it is helpful. He says that's growth. Ask him why he asked me that question. He says, honestly, because he was curious if there was an answer. Says he's noticed that a lot of modern social justice relies on circular definitions and thought-terminating cliches. Says he used to be more activist himself, but stepped back when he realized he couldn't defend his positions. This surprises me. He was an activist. He says, yeah, different cause, but same energy. Says he realized he was more invested in being right than in finding truth. Says going his own way, focusing on what he can control, has been more fulfilling. Ask what he means by going his own way. He says he focuses on being competent, building skills, treating people well. Says he doesn't try to change the world, just tries not to make it worse. It says arguing about definitions and theory doesn't interest him anymore. Says results matter more than rhetoric. Something about this resonates. We talk for like an hour. It's the first real conversation I've had in years that wasn't about activism. He tells me about his hobbies, his goals, his philosophy. I realize I don't even have hobbies anymore. Everything became about the cause. When we leave the conference room, I feel lighter somehow. Also feel terrified because my whole worldview is crumbling. But maybe that's okay. Maybe it needs to crumble so something better can be built. Over the next months, I make changes. Stop posting political stuff on social media constantly. Start reading different perspectives. Take up hiking. Reconnect with old friends I ditched for being problematic. Still do my job, but without the crusader mentality. People seem to like me more. Or maybe I'm just easier to be around. My relationship with Chad becomes cordial, even friendly. He recommends books to me. Not political books, just good novels and philosophy. I read them and we discuss them. It's nice to think about ideas without immediately filtering them through oppression frameworks. One day I realize I can't remember the last time I got angry about a microaggression. Either they're not happening or I'm not looking for them. Probably both. Also realize I'm happier. Significantly happier. The constant outrage was exhausting. Being angry all the time was poisoning me. I thought it was righteous anger, but it was just anger. And it was hurting me more than anyone else. Still believe in fairness and equality. But I approach it differently now. Less about tearing down, more about building up. Less about calling out, more about reaching out. And I can actually define what a woman is now. An adult human female. Simple, clear, based on material reality. Doesn't mean I can't respect people's choices or treat everyone with dignity. But I don't have to deny reality to be kind. That was the trap I was in. Thinking that kindness required me to accept contradictions. Thinking that questioning meant hatred. Chad never hated me. He just didn't accept my unfalsifiable claims. And that's okay. People can disagree and still respect each other. Wild concept. My feminist friends have mostly stopped talking to me. They say I've been red-pilled or I'm upholding the patriarchy. Maybe I am. Or maybe I'm just thinking for myself, for the first time in years. Either way, I'm okay with it. Sometimes I cringe thinking about who I was. The self-righteousness. The victim mentality. The constant search for offense. I was insufferable. And the worst part is, I thought I was better than everyone else. Thought I was enlightened and they were ignorant. Turns out I was the ignorant one. Ignorant and arrogant. Bad combination. But I'm learning, and that's what matters. Chad and I got coffee the other day. As friends, nothing romantic. He's very much going his own way in that regard too. I asked him if he knew that one question would break my whole worldview. He said he didn't know, but he suspected I'd never really examined it. Said most people don't examine their beliefs. They just absorb them from their environment and defend them reflexively. Said he used to be the same way. Asked what changed for him. He said he got tired of being angry and started asking what's actually true. Said truth doesn't care about your feelings or your politics. Said once you commit to truth over comfort, everything else follows. I'm trying to commit to that now. It's hard. Really hard. Because sometimes truth is uncomfortable. Sometimes it means admitting you were wrong. Sometimes it means alienating people you thought were friends. But it's also freeing. I don't have to perform anymore. Don't have to constantly prove my activist credentials. Don't have to be outraged on schedule. Can just be a person. A flawed person trying to figure things out, which is all any of us are really. Looking back, the moment Chad asked me, "What is a woman?" was the beginning of the end of my old life, and the beginning of something better. He outsmarted me not by being cruel or dismissive, but by asking a simple question I couldn't answer. And instead of admitting I couldn't answer it, I tried to destroy him. That's who I was. Someone who would try to ruin a person's career for asking questions. I'm ashamed of that. But shame can be productive if it leads to change. And I'm changing. Still have a long way to go. Still catch myself falling into old patterns. But now I notice it and course correct. The diversity and inclusion job feels hollow now. I'm looking at other positions. Maybe something in actual data analysis where I can contribute something concrete. Maybe something completely different. Haven't decided yet. But I know I can't keep doing what I'm doing. Can't keep pretending I'm making a difference when I'm really just creating division. Chad was right. I built my identity on concepts I couldn't explain. And when challenged, I had nothing but anger and accusations. That's not strength. That's fragility. Real strength is being able to examine your beliefs, to question them, to change them when they don't hold up. I thought I was strong because I was loud and aggressive, but I was weak, afraid of being wrong, afraid of losing my identity, afraid of having to admit I wasted years on bullshit. Now I'm facing those fears, and yeah, I did waste years. And yeah, I was wrong about a lot, but I'm not dead yet. Still time to do better. Still time to be better. And if nothing else, at least I can serve as a cautionary tale. Don't build your entire identity on ideology. Don't make politics your personality. Don't surround yourself with people who only agree with you. And for the love of God, make sure you can define your terms. Because someone might ask, and if you can't answer, you look like an idiot, like I did. What is a woman? Turns out I didn't know, but I do now. And that's something.